Gali mera, gali spera, gali nichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It is a new week. It is a blank canvas. And the transfer window is still open. Can the thing just shut? Oh, I'm over it. Not sure about you. Let's rock and roll, kids.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Boys and girls, hola, hola, hola. Hope you're all well. What a day. Look at this beautiful brand new kit. Can't start a week better off, can you? It's one of my favorite kits of all time. I hear people complaining about collars. I mean, does it get any cooler than this? I don't think so. Look at this guy, Big Gabby, wearing that kit, looking like he's ready to go hang out with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. Miles Lewis Skelly rocking the tracksuit bottoms. He's wearing some cool shoes with this. Declan Rice rocking it as well. And of course, our women rocking it. It's just a great kit. I absolutely love it. I'm not sure what you guys think of it, but I totally love it. And by the way, I'm not at home. I'm on location today. That is correct. I am in downtown Los Angeles, which is kind of a staycation for me. My family are here from Cyprus, and I'm hanging out with my nephew and have been looking after him for a few days. And after this is wrapped, we're going to go to the Titanic experience. Yeah. And I hope the Arsenal's transfer window doesn't sink like the Titanic did. But you know what's worse than that? My little nephew is a Tottenham fan. That's right, a Tottenham fan. And he's starting his own YouTube channel. So guess what I've been doing for the last few days? I've been helping him create thumbnails and have to download pictures of Harry Kane and Son. So if you think you're going through pain in your life, I hear him laughing in the background. We'll have to give him a follow as well, but you're all Arsenal fans. So if you have family who love Tottenham, let me know. And we can get them all following Leo's channel for sure. At ease, squaddies, at ease. Welcome to the show. Sami will be hopping in anytime. Let's say hi to a few folks in the old chat. Of course, our Chief Like Officer, Tammy Steels. Don't forget to listen to what she said. We are so close, Tammy. So close to 20K. I'm very proud of all of you for getting us this far. Wesbird is here. Let's see. We've got Woody Wood. That's one of my favorites. PW is here. Yassel PW. Carol's here. Ryan's here. I think Albert's here. Demian's here tonight. Lone Star's here. The whole fam jam is here. But more importantly, I'm not saying you guys aren't important like Ian and everybody else. Hopefully my sound is okay because I don't have my mic and I'm just using the laptop. And Miss Potts is here. Donna Potts, welcome to the show as well. More importantly, welcome back to Squad Central. One of my favorites, one of your favorites, Mr. Sami Mokbel from the BBC. Welcome, Sami.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? You're looking fabulous.
We just got back from Corfu.
I am so jealous. Look at that beautiful tan you're rocking right there. You went to the motherland, huh? I hope it was good to you.
Sorry?
I hope the motherland was good to you.
Was. No, it was, we had a wonderful time. The kids loved it. Apart from the mosquitoes that ravaged my little girl. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this camera ready.
There you go.
Other than that, it was amazing. The resort was great. People are always sort of. I've actually only ever been to Greece for work. I've never been on holiday. But the people were lovely. We had a really nice time. So yeah, it was. I wish I could still be there and not be embroiled in transfer window chaos.
It's getting a bit old now, isn't it? You know what though? There's nothing like a holiday. What game were you covering? Curiously, when you went to Greece, was it for the national team or was it?
Yeah, it was for the national. Yeah. So I was there. Very recently. Yeah, England were playing. England played Greece. Yeah, which was at the start of. No, it would have been at the end of last year. I was there for that. And have I been there prior to that? I'm not sure if I had, but yeah, no, I was there. I was there for the England's recent games there, and yeah, Athens is amazing, and I love Athens as sort of as a as a weekend. I guess you could go as a weekend. Yes, I was only there for 2 days, but yeah, I'm not sure I could take much of that. That is an intense city to get around. And Corfu
it's a little bit mental.
Relaxed. Yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it there, but yeah, as a holiday destination, I would pick Corfu every time. He was lovely. We had a great time. So thanks.
Yeah, it's always fun going to an Olympiacos Panathinaikos game. Those are mental. It's like Celtic Rangers, Lazio Rome.
Yeah, it is a bucket list thing. That is a bucket list thing. I have to do that. I have to do that because you only see the pictures, right? You only see the images on the TV, but I'd imagine that doesn't do it justice. I think you probably need to be in the stadium to appreciate just how intense that is. So definitely one day I would love to do that, cover that game.
Well, you've been covering the transfer window like a rock star, and I thought Arsenal fans after the Gyokeres announcement got really excited about everything, and it felt like we were in good stead. And then the Isaac news blew up, and of course, rear view mirror syndrome. Why now? Never felt like we were ever going to spend that kind of money, Sami, on someone like Isaac. But just real quick to get your take as well on how that all unfolded. And Zubimendi, when you were on our show, you told us from the beginning, don't panic, it's all going to be fine, it's going to work out. But before we get to kind of the next story, how do you feel like the window's unfolded so far for Arsenal?
I think it's been a very successful one so far. The Gyokeres deal, I think everyone would look at the Gyokeres deal, and the success of that deal will only come to fruition once the season starts. We will only know then whether it's value for money or not, because he's got to perform at the end of the day. Because at the start of the window, if we start the window, there were 3 options, right? It was Alexander Isak, which was the dream signing, but what I've since discovered was that yes, it was the dream signing, but realistically, I don't think anyone at Arsenal really thought it was going to happen. And certainly some of the information I've had very recently has suggested that it really didn't get off the ground because of the finances involved. No one at Arsenal really gave it a moment's thought, apart from it being, I don't want to say a pipe dream, because there are certain individuals at the club who wanted to make it work, but I think the numbers involved in that deal just meant it was unrealistic. So then it was either down to Benjamin Sesko or Victor Gyokeres, and they explored the Benjamin Sesko deal. Again, the numbers that they were getting back in terms of wages and fees didn't really make sense for them, so they pivoted to the Gyokeres deal. And that's not to say that Gyokeres was second or third choice. He was one of 3. If you speak to those at Arsenal, they will tell you he was one of 3, and we managed to nail one of our 3 main targets, so which I have done successfully. But yeah, the success of that transfer will be played out in public. We will and it will be down to goals, and it will be down to performances. And but they've got someone who has got a proven track record in Portugal of scoring a lot of goals, but the concern will be, or rather all eyes will be, is how goals in the Portuguese top league translate into into the Premier League, and that's not any disrespect to the Portuguese league, but that's the question mark. I think that we'll have an answer to very soon.
Sami, can I ask you this, because there's going to be a lot of listeners who are listening now and on our YouTube channel and on Apple and Spotify, thanks to all our audio listeners as well, that would be saying, Soph, please ask him, why wouldn't Arsenal put in that kind of money for Isak? Is it because, like our listener Demsek said, when you need 7 or 8 players, you just can't do that? PSR now, we're in a new fiscal year. What would you say to our fans who would say, why? Why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah. Part of it will be the sheer weight of already rejected our £110 million offer for Alexander Isak from Liverpool. It will take, from what I understand, around 130 to 150 million to get that deal done. So, yeah. There is that factor. The other factor that, from what I understand, is the player's injury record. He stayed fit for much of last season, but if you look back at the season before, there were injury concerns there. He missed quite a lot of games. So when you're spending that kind of money, you need to be absolutely sure of every little factor. And I think at the start of the season, when they discussed that deal, when push came to shove, they just decided that it was too much. One, it was too much money, and ultimately that was the deciding factor. But then it was also, well, and he's also had these issues before, like injury issues before. Do we really want to take the risk?
Right.
I think then that's when they pivoted to the other two.
I think that's a lot of Arsenal fans would support that with regards to the injuries, and then the amount of investment you can make in other areas of the pitch and still get a great signing like Victor Gyokeres as well, Sami. Now, you reported on, I'm going to be honest here, Jérémy Jacquet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly or incorrectly. But I've got to say, Sami, hold my hands up. My listeners know I don't know anything about this young player. I really don't. I watch a little Liga. I don't watch a lot of Rennes, is it? He's coming from. Yeah. I don't know. Educate me.
He's only made, but you wouldn't be the only one to have limited knowledge about him. I can't sit here and tell you that I've seen all the games he's played. I think he's only played around 15 games. So first team games last season, so only a handful of games for Rennes. But by all accounts, he is a ball playing and stylish centre back defender who, given his age, and I think given the ceiling the ceiling for potential there is on Arsenal's radar. Whether that comes to fruition and whether that formalises this window remains to be seen. He's just signed a new contract. That was in May to 2029. So when you take that into consideration, I guess it would be somewhat of a surprise for Rennes to let him go this summer. But never, well, it was alluded to me, don't absolutely rule it out this summer, but this might be one that will be for future windows. But there's the interest is there, and it's for sure, and it's definite, and it's, if he doesn't arrive this window, and I given the information and some of the information that I've got, I would still probably be surprised if it was to happen this window. But given what I've heard, he will certainly be a player of interest heading into the next scouting period, heading into January, and then the summer scouting period after the January window.
Very, very interesting. One of the things I was thinking about when I saw you talk about this and stuff is that it made me think, well, Kivior or Zinchenko are leaving. In particular, Kivior is the one player that everyone is kind of saying, and there's been rumor about him going in January, and we decided to keep him. And I think in the end, he's proven a lot of fans wrong, including myself. I had to eat my words and make some apologies, because I think he's been absolutely superb post Bayern Munich mistake in that Champions League. Sami, is this contingent on Kivior? What do you hear about Kivior? I think most Arsenal fans now would like to see him stay, especially as we got Mosquera as well. Gives us even more strength at the back.
Yeah, I think the arrival of Jacquet, however you pronounce it, and I'm in the same boat as you, Sophie. I've not nailed the pronunciation yet. Would be probably dependent on an outgoing in defence, because I think you're quite well stocked at the back. And in terms of Kivior, I can see his stock has risen, or his stock certainly rose at the end of last season in Big Gabby's absence, and while we're ahead prior to that period, it might have been his exit might have been more of a priority for Arsenal. I don't think it is now. I think they have seen enough of him to know that they can rely on him to come in, certainly when there's an injury, or potentially, I say rotate, but history tells us that Mikel Arteta doesn't necessarily like to rotate at centre back. So but I think they look at Kivior and they look at him now and think, well, he's proved that he can step in, and he can step in on big occasions. So, maybe we don't have to sell him, with them bringing in Mosquera as well, a fourth centre back. I think the only way that, or potentially the only way that they do the Jacquet deal will be if Kivior goes, basically.
Sami, before we get on to a couple of other transfer news bits, and we'll stay on the French train for just a little bit in the defence. Last time we spoke, you talked about, this was an old slide, guys, from last season when we were doing the SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and these two at the back and just have been sensational. Seeing Kivior step in for Big Gabby, I think, was the turning point for fans when they realised, wow, what a pressurised situation. You talked about Saliba a little bit and mentioned that they had started talking, but not enough for you to start reporting. What's the latest in your opinion on this one?
Yeah, no, it's sort of, I'm in a similar boat to then. I checked on my. I was on my sunbed checking. I was sending a text checking because I remember someone sent me a text. I thought I'd check it out. The update was progressing, but nothing close at the moment. Which isn't, progress is progress. And I think, didn't Saliba come out wasn't he on tour, and didn't he say that, nothing's close at the moment, but hopefully he'll sign. I think that was probably an accurate reflection of where I understand it to be. I haven't checked since then, so maybe there has been some movement from last week, but I was getting positive signs last week, but nothing to the extent where I understood that something was imminently agreed. But I'd be surprised if there isn't a successful conclusion to those discussions.
Well, that would be amazing. That was the AFTV guys that were bantering with the players when they were coming out in the mix zone at the end, and so he did say that. Of course, he's going to be positive. I don't think he's going to say anything negative in that situation, but he also mentioned God as well. So everyone pray to God that Saliba does sign. He's probably, if not our most important player in this team. All right, so let's get to one guy before we swing to the biggest story. We'll get you out on these two, Sami. He's looking at Lookman, apparently. Not sure what you know about this, but, he clearly wants to leave Atalanta. Once Inter Milan seemed to be the team of choice, but there was some swirlings about maybe Arsenal going back in this direction a little bit. And is that a caveat based on one of the big stories that you've been covering is EZE as well? How does that all tie in?
In terms of Lookman, I think there has been, or I know there's been a historic interest in Ademola Lookman from Arsenal. This is sort of according to sources closer to the player than the club, I must say. But it has never been, from what I understand, at a level where they've been ready to sort of formalise that and engage in any kind of talks at a higher level. So I'd imagine, based on that there will be other individuals and other targets who are placed maybe slightly higher than Ademola Lookman, who, as you said, is prioritising a move to Inter Milan. I think he wants to stay in Italy, and I think a lot of the kind of the machinations between himself and the board at Atalanta there, that obviously there's a little bit of friction, is designed to try and get him that move to Milan, to Inter Milan. Maybe later in the window, if Arsenal haven't strengthened on that left side, he may come into the equation. But from what I understand, I think Arsenal have other irons in the fire. One of those being Eberechi Eze. The interest in Eberechi Eze is absolutely genuine. It's they look at Arsenal's recruitment team, look at Eberechi Eze just as we do. A player with an abundance of quality, brilliant balance, can take players on, can go left or right, comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's a game changer. But some of the information that I've sort of been receiving over the past sort of 2 weeks is that Arsenal look at Eberechi Eze, or certain individuals at Arsenal look at Eberechi Eze, that his best position is in the 10, is a number 10, rather than someone who plays off the left. So if you consider that, they've already got Martin Odegaard, who generally plays in the 10 position. Behind him, you have Ethan Nwaneri, who is not. Obviously, the deal hasn't been announced yet, but he's signed a new contract. So that's another option at 10. So when you weigh up whether you want to sign the player or try and sign the player or not, these are the kind of things that you have to consider. Do we really need another number 10? If that's how if they're signing him as a 10 in the squad, if you look at the squad at the moment, you'd have to think, and you have to look at it and think, well, is there room for Eberechi Eze in the squad? Probably not as a 10, but if you were to sign him as a multifunctional forward who can play across those three positions, so a 10 or off the left or occasionally on the right, could we sign him as that? I think if they were to sign Eberechi Eze, it would be under that guise. It will be as someone who is versatile and can play in those front three, in those three positions just behind the striker. But I have to say that some of that, and listen, it might just be, I might be being played here, and it might just be a negotiation tactic to make out that Arsenal aren't that fussed about Eberechi Eze when they really are. But some of that information makes me think that this is one that will drag into the latter stages of the window, when with Arsenal trying to get the best deal they possibly can.
Wow. So from your kind of your gut, because a lot of Arsenal fans became disenchanted with Martin Odegaard last season. He didn't have a great season. He was carrying an injury, didn't recover very well from injuries, played a lot of football as well. There's no doubt about that. And then Waneri, when you needed a goal in the Champions League against PSG, 4 minutes to go, you bring him on. 20 minutes earlier, you brought on Calafiori and Benjamin White. Do you think Arteta's he's sold on Odegaard? He's his captain, he's his guy. Waneri gets a new contract. Clearly, they're sold on Waneri. Eze brings a totally different appeal to the team. I think, in the 10, but I believe he's very few footballers can play football anywhere. I think Eze is the type of footballer that you put him in as a right back or a left back, I reckon he could play. Do you think that the rating of Eze isn't as high as those two other players that I mentioned, Sami? What would say?
I think you're right in saying that. Certainly with Martin Odegaard, he's the captain. So invariably, he's the first name on the team sheet, right? So you'd think if you're Mikel Arteta, then you are looking. If you're looking at Eze as a 10, you're looking at him to supplement Martin Odegaard rather than replace Martin Odegaard. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the captain. Is how I'm looking at that situation. But to say that they're different players, I think they're different players. I think Eberechi is more explosive and he's more of a ball carrier and he's destructive and he can he cut through you with the ball at his feet. Whereas Martin Odegaard is a threader of passes that no one else can see, and they have different attributes and they have different strengths in my opinion. I can see a scenario where Eberechi is signed as a multifunctional forward. And he will have his opportunities at 10, maybe. He will also have his opportunities if they sign him on the left-hand side. And his main attributes and his main strength are sort of the ball carrying and the trickery and that ability to get past the player. Whereas if you look at someone like Gabriel Martinelli, I like Gabriel Martinelli. I think I like those explosive attributes. I know a lot of Arsenal fans. So sort of certainly some of the feedback I get about Martinelli is that he probably needs he needs those skills to be refined a little bit more, and he needs to show a bit more composure in front of goal and in those clinical areas. And what Eze would certainly bring is a coolness and a sort of very assured in how he approaches the game. And the one thing that we must say about Eberechi Eze, before I forget, is he absolutely, with showing all the respect he will show to Crystal Palace, he would jump at the chance to join Arsenal, I'm sure.
Does he have 2 years left on his deal or one, Sami?
2.
2. Okay.
Yeah. So if you consider Palace's situation, they're probably going to lose a player in Mark Gehi this summer who's got a year left on his less than a year left on his contract now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the $1 million question for Palace is, do they want to have that same situation that they're placed in at the moment with Mark Gehi? Do they want to be in that same place next season with Eberechi Eze? Right. That's the question. That's the question. And if that's the case, then and Palace want to avoid that situation, then I can see Palace doing a deal.
The concerning thing about some of that a little bit is after the Tottenham game, the North London derby in Hong Kong, it felt like we were watching a little bit of the same and combinations of maybe not our best side of last season, and people are starting to ask about whether or not Mikel Arteta's adaptable. Hopefully gyokeres won't be set up to fail. He'll be set up to succeed within a system that works for having such a prolific goal scorer. And a lot of why I think he likes Martinelli is because what he does off the ball and not on the ball. And it's the same with Martin Odegaard. And a lot of our listeners are pointing that out too. And that concern, you need a get off your seat player. Like, I don't think we've had one in that regard since Alexis Sanchez, that type of get off your seat player. I think Eze can be a get off your seat player. And the creativity that's being killed in football a little bit today, Sami, maybe I'm being melodramatic, but it just feels a little too robotic. And that's the concern going into this season. Like a player like Eze is an X factor that gets you closer to the league. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans really believe that.
Yeah. I get that train. I absolutely get that train. I get the bums off seats thing. I really do. There's nothing. Look, I'm a journalist, so there's nothing I like more than being entertained and having stuff to report that sort of captures the imagination. Football managers, I guess, look at it slightly differently in that they want someone to fit into their ethos, into their philosophy, into how they want to set up the team. And if that means the left winger has got to track the right back and the right winger back into the other half, then that's what that's what Mikel Arteta has to weigh up. It's, if Eberechi Eze was to play on the left-hand side for Arsenal or even in the 10, can he rely on him to do the dirty work? Which he's absolutely more than capable of. Trust me, I've watched a lot of him, and he does work hard.
All right, I'm going to get you out on this last one because Madueke is going to be, or I think has joined the squad this week, whether or not he features in any games. We've supported this signing from the get-go here at Highbury Squad. Really excited to see him play. I think he's going to be one of the surprise signings of the season. Sami, you've spent time with him. You've watched him play for Chelsea, England. Give us a quick assessment on what you feel about the Madueke signing for us.
Yeah. Direct, he's a very direct player, takes on his man. He's a box of tricks. He's willing to take risks on the ball in possession to try and get past his man and then sort of get crosses in and end product in. I think the end product of his game has improved massively, certainly over the course of last season. But I feel it still needs further improvement. And I think the other aspect of his game that I'm sure Mikel Arteta will be absolutely on him on this will be to be relentless for the full 90 minutes. From some of the sort of information and some of the chats that I've had regarding Madueke has been, he will do something really good in a game. He will score a goal or he will supply an assist, and it's almost like, I've done my part for the day. I've got my number today. I can relax a little bit more during this game.
I see.
That just won't fly. That just won't fly at Arsenal. That won't fly under Mikel Arteta. So he needs to show that level of consistency, and that kind of raw determination for a full 90 minutes. Mikel Arteta just won't allow any kind of drop-offs just because he's scored a goal or he's laid an assist for one of his teammates. So, but sort of all in all, I think it's a very good signing. I think it's an astute signing. I know people will look at the numbers, 50 million, 52 million, whether it's 53 million, and think that's expensive, but that's the going rate. That's the going rate for he's in England. He's a full England international. How much? You don't. If you're an England international, you generally prices start at £50 million. So, I think that they've got a pretty good. I think they've got a pretty good deal there, and but it'll be ultimately the success of that deal will play out and will develop on how he performs.
So I know I said it was the last one, but you could do this one in 30 seconds if you want. I had to ask you about Trossard, and there were rumours about Saudi for a while, then Borussia Dortmund, then Bayern Munich, and now Crystal Palace. Any word on Trossard? And I know it's probably not tied into EZE at all, but is there interest from Palace in Trossard? Do you know?
I haven't heard that. I've heard that historically. I think there has been a historic interest in Trossard. Their Palace's priority at the moment is to get a centre back in, and I think that's where their focus is. And I think once they've spent their money on a centre back, I'm not sure there's going to be an awful lot left to get another attacker in. There'll be some, but whether it's enough to get someone like of the pedigree of Leandro Trossard, I'm not sure, but there is a historic interest from Selhurst Park for sure.
Speaking of pedigree, yours is one of the best, Sami. I'm going to stay on and do a couple housekeeping issues. I really appreciate your time. You're always very generous with us. What is your parting shot? You know that we do the closing statement. What would you say to our squaddies between now and the end of the window? Sandwiched in between that, we've got Manchester United. What would be your parting shot to our listeners for tonight?
My parting shot would be you've had a very good summer window so far. Just give the incomings a little bit of a break. You've had 6 so far. I think there should be a focus now on trying to get players out the door. I think Reece Nelson will be one. They'll look to sell Fabio Vieira. I think there's news today from the esteemed David Ornstein that Stuttgart are interested in. In Fabio Vieira. Alexander Zinchenko is another player they would actively let go. So let the club try and get those deals over the line to rebalance or recalibrate the finances a little bit, and then there may be a late push for a forward and maybe even a defender towards the latter end of the window.
Brilliant stuff, Sami. You can follow Sami at Sami Mokbel _BBC. Brilliant. Thank you, mate. At ease, and we appreciate you. And great tan. Enjoy the tan while it lasts.
Cheers, so.
Okay, mate. Take care. Bye-bye. That's Sami Mokbel. Thanks to Sami for joining. Thanks to you guys for joining as well. I know we had a bit of a buffering issue at one point. Those listening on audio and Spotify, on Apple and Spotify, hope the sound has been okay for you. I will be back in my humble abode when we go live next. We've got some great shows coming up for you this week. Kyle Campbell's coming back to Squad Central, so that'll be fun. We'll talk to Kyle about a little bit about everything. It's our total football show. Kenny Ken's going to come back for his monthly stint. We're going to do Kick It with Kenny, and you get to ask him questions as well. I think that'll be fun, a little bit different to what we've been doing on the show. But I think you guys will enjoy that as well. Rebecca Lowe, Lady Lowe herself, will be joining Squad Central, not this week, but when the Premier League starts. Rebecca Lowe, NBC host, will be back on Squad Central sharing her predictions, what she thinks she's going to happen, or what she thinks is going to happen this season. She'll also share a little bit about what she saw about Manchester United. And we would have played Manchester United as well. So it'd be interesting to see what she saw in their pre-season versus post-game with us. So that's going to be pretty cool to have Rebecca on the show with us after she's been in England and she's going to be pitch side for the Manchester United v Arsenal game as well. So we will get all of the juice from Rebecca. US men's national team legend John Harkes will be rejoining Squad Central. John's one of our favourite guests. He'll be on to talk a little bit about everything as well. Played at the top level. Of course, those 2 amazing cup finals, cup games against us in yesteryear, it feels. For those of you who are interested in historical football stuff, John's brilliant when he comes on, tells us great anecdotes about Tony Adams and Ian Wright and George Graham and everyone, basically. And of course, with what's happening at Sheffield Wednesday, I'm interested in football stories, and we'll talk to John about that. And maybe I'll get him to tell his Pele story again to those that missed it. So there's going to be some amazing guests coming on. Also, top-tier journalists returning between now and the end of the transfer window. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Monday. And if you know what, I don't buy kits, but if anyone wants to gift this to me, I'll take it. I love, this might be my favorite Arsenal kit of all time. I think it is. Now this is streetwear, and maybe it's the grandfather clock, because I have a grandfather clock. Tony's parents from like the late 60s, we have their grandfather clock, and it is amazing. Maybe it's the grandfather clock that's doing it for me. Maybe it's not the kit. Nah, it's the kit. I love it. Make sure you let me know what you think about the kit on the way out. Give it a mark out of 10. I wanted to focus on the conversation with Sami, so I tried to put up as many of your comments as possible. You also got me focused on the sound and buffering, so it's your fault. Anyway, thanks so much. Love you lots. Keep an eye out on the community page for our next shows. Thank you, Apple and Spotify listeners, for helping us grow our audio platforms. Keep reviewing and keep liking and subscribing. We are close to 20,000 on YouTube as well. So make sure you do what our Chief Like Officer, Tammy Steele, says, and hit that like button on the way out. Leave your comments and help us get on the road past 20K now. We're really proud of that. All right, until next time, thanks to Sami Mokbel. Please go follow him on the old X and other platforms, Sami Mokbel _ BBC. Love you, squaddies. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them, and at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Seems like a night where you guys just ignore Newman.